How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As each day goes by, the beginning of free agency begins to draw nearer, which will be a very important date for every NBA team, but really for the Lakers in particular. While they do not have a lot of money to work with in free agency, for a team that only has 5 players under guaranteed contract, they will be heavily involved in the free agent market. And to try and give you a better picture of who they may be interested in targeting, we'll look at 5 free agents who I believe they should either sign or ignore based on money and potential fit on their team. And as a Laker fan, you really need to take those 2 factors into heavy consideration. Sure, it would be great to be able to go after a player like Kyle Lowry or Tim Hardaway, but unless a player like that would take a huge discount to join the Lakers, there is no way that it could happen. Rather, the Lakers need to target players that they can realistically afford financially while still finding talent to improve their team. And while that will not be easy to do, there are always hidden gems to be found among the mid to lower tier free agents, and those are the kind that we will review in this video, while at the same time trying to include players that have either been linked to the team in the past or have been heavily mentioned by Laker fans. And with that, we'll begin by looking at Derrick Rose. He has been linked to the Lakers multiple times already in the past, mainly from heavy fan speculation, but the Lakers very likely have had legitimate interest in him, and going into free agency, they very likely will have him on their radar again. While he is no longer the player he used to be, he is still a quality player off the bench for any team. He averaged over 15 points per game, while shooting a very impressive near 39% from the 3-point line on the year. And if you'd only look at that, you would probably think he'd be a perfect fit for a Laker team in need of more scoring off the bench and more 3-point shooting. However, Derrick Rose has been a very streaky 3-point shooter throughout his entire career and also is not a very good defender, both of which would make him a questionable fit on the court with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Then, when you take into consideration that he may want a pay increase from what he made this year, he could be looking at getting a contract at around $10 million per year. All of that will push him to being more on the ignore radar for the Lakers, but I think with him being a more veteran player now and turning 33 in October, money may not be a huge priority for him. If that is true, then he could still be a realistic target for the team. He is far from the perfect fit for them, but they are in need of another backup playmaker who has the ability to score the ball, especially if they are unable to retain shooter. We're going to give Derrick Rose the label of sign, but only if he'd be willing to take a pay cut, which is not all that likely. But now moving on to player number 2, where we have Spencer Dinwiddie, another point guard who will be heading into free agency. Dinwiddie has already declined his player option in order to become an unrestricted free agent, and while I have seen many Laker fans mention his name as a player to target, it will be very unlikely that they would be able to financially afford him. Dinwiddie opted out of a contract that would have paid him about $11.5 million next year and will be looking for an even bigger contract than that. And even if the Lakers were able to make a few trades to free up more money for them to spend in free agency, I still do not think that Dinwiddie will be a good player for them to use it on. While he is a talented player, he would not be a good fit on the court with LeBron and AD. Dinwiddie is a player that needs the ball in his hands to generate his own offense, as he is not a good 3-point shooter, nor a great off-ball player in general. Putting him in a lineup with LeBron will be taking away from what both of them want to do on the court, and even if they would have him come off the bench, it still would not be an ideal fit, especially not for a player that they'd likely have to pay around $15 million or more to. And other than that, there really is not a whole lot more to say about this one, as not only is Dinwiddie out of their price range, but even if he wasn't, he would not be a good fit for their team anyway in my opinion. Because of all that, we're going to give him the ignore label. But now moving on to player number 3, where we have Otto Porter Jr. While Otto Porter is coming off of making a huge contract, there is no way he will make anywhere near that amount again. He has unfortunately dealt with a number of lingering injuries in the past few years, which will likely prevent him from getting a large contract again. And while the injuries will likely scare many teams away from him, they also will likely attract a contending team like the Lakers, who may have an opportunity to sign him for cheap. Although he has been an injury-prone player as of late, when he is healthy, he is one of the better 3-and-D wing players in the league. He is a tall, lanky, and mobile kind of player, which allows him to defend multiple positions on the court. With that, he is a career 40% 3-point shooter, and is a very good catch-and-shoot player in particular. Both of those things are very attractive to a team like the Lakers. They desperately need a more reliable three-point shooter like Porter, who can also fit their team's mentality on defense, and if healthy, he would be a near perfect fit for what they are looking for. The only issues are, do they believe he can actually stay healthy, and how much money is he looking for? I'm not sure his value dropped all the way to a veteran minimum contract, but it is also nowhere near the $20 million range that he was at before. A fair offer may be somewhere around $5 million per year on a one-year contract to be able to prove himself on a contending team. They could basically offer him half of the full mid-level exception, leaving them with room to sign another quality player after him yet then too. They would be taking a big risk by signing him, but I do think it would be worth it given how well he could fit on their team if he stayed healthy. We are going to give Otto Porter the sign label. But now moving on to player number 4, where we have Kelly Olynyk. Olynyk actually had the best year of his career if you look at numbers alone, but it was largely due to finishing off the year with a tanking Rockets team. In 27 games with them, he averaged 19 points per game while shooting 39% from the three-point line. However, he shot very poorly from both the field and the three-point line with the Miami Heat before being traded. Regardless of that though, he has caught the eye of some Laker fans, primarily because of his ability to space the floor as a big man. And while that would be beneficial to a Laker team in need of more three-point shooting, that would be about the only thing that he could provide them with, which may not be enough for the money he might be looking for. Olynyk made over $12 million this year and likely will not want to take a huge pay cut considering the numbers on offense that he finished the year with. The Lakers, however, would likely want more than only three-point shooting from a guy they'd likely need to pay somewhere around $5 to $10 million per year to get. Olynyk could help provide floor spacing to them, but he is a liability on defense and is not great in any one area, even as a three-point shooter. Sure, for a big man, he is a good three-point shooter, but he is a streaky shooter and not great compared to other three-point shooters around the league. If for some reason they could get him on a near minimum level contract, then yeah, I would be all for the Lakers adding him, but anything over that, I don't think he would be worth paying for. They have other priorities that need to be addressed, more than what a guy like Kelly Olynyk could provide them, and because of that, we're going to give him the ignore label. But finally, coming in at number 5, we'll look at Trevor Ariza. After being linked to the Lakers for the past 3 years now, or maybe even longer than that, it should surprise nobody that he will likely be linked to them again come free agency. While he is no longer the elite athlete or arguably the best 3-and-D player in the NBA like he once was, he can still provide a team with a lot of value even now at 35 years old, and he definitely proved that with the Miami Heat. He was an instant upgrade for them on both offense and defense, providing them with legitimate 3-and-D ability. Like I mentioned before, Ariza no longer is the elite athlete that he once was, but he has retained enough of that athletic ability to remain a quality defender, even now into his mid-30s. He's a tall, lanky, and quick defender, which allows him to defend positions 2 through 4 even now. And then when you couple that with his three-point shooting ability, he remains a very valuable player in the NBA. And for a Laker team that relies heavily on 3-and-D players for the way that they like to play on both ends of the court, adding a player like Ariza would be huge for them. And with him already having made a lot of money in his NBA career, I would not doubt if Ariza would be willing to take a veteran minimum contract to join a contending team, and there may be no team that has a bigger role to offer him than the Lakers would. Like previously mentioned, they only have 5 players on a guaranteed contract and could possibly be looking to trade Kyle Kuzma, who would be the only role player that would take minutes away from him. If I'm the Lakers, I'm making a hard push to try and sign Trevor Ariza in free agency if he could be had for cheap, and with that being likely, we're definitely going to give him the sign label. But with that, that'll conclude the 5 free agents that we will look at for today. I plan on doing more sign or ignore videos on upcoming free agents, so let me know who you would like to see reviewed in part 2 by commenting down below and we can talk about it there. That will do it for this video though. Thank you to everyone who took the time to watch until the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please remember to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. And if you want to stay up to date on all my immediate thoughts and moves around the NBA, be sure to follow me on Twitter too. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.